is connected? Yes. Audio is connected. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dr. Jayanth. They popularly call me as Jay because I have a long name from Bangalore. So just Jay would be better. And thanks for everything, the chairpersons and the audience, everybody. I think most of you are all doctors, right? Yeah? That's good. Okay, that's good. Fantastic. Okay, that's fine. Basically, what I'm doing is I specialize in emergency medicine in the United Kingdom for the last 25 years. I've been traveling around the world with motorsports and giving few of the research oriented in motorsports. I moved on from hospital work. I do about 5 to 6 days in a month, but rest of it is all traveling around the world with the motorsports. So the injuries and how we handle from the ground rescue crew, I moved on to for the last 8 years, I'm towards the helicopter ambulance crews. That's my job at the moment. The areas I cover is the Formula 1 MotoGPs. Formula 1 is mainly the motorsports. I think most of you must be seeing in the television and Netflix. There are a few of the other ones, the motorbikes, so the Isle of Man TT, which we have now in India also in Buddha International Airport. I think they converted that into that now. And also Isle of Man TT race is one of the most dangerous motorsports in the world. So, and I do cover the 68 different international motorsports along with British horse racing and also world boxing. I go and attend all this work. But basically all these, and also in the disasters management, but mostly in the United Kingdom and European countries. So I travel there if needed. But most of it's towards the motorsports. Okay. So pre-hospital work is something which has to be really started off with almost like a military training, like that's how it goes. It's everybody, doctors, paramedics, the ground staff, the pilot in the helicopter and the fixed wing aircrafts. They all has to be well knitted together, know each other together, work together. So a lot of training is involved in that. Yeah. So I'll just put on this one now. So basically what we do is, as I said, we use all these kind of aircrafts. We don't use it like a toy. It's a very dangerous arena to work with. They have to know everything, know each other's work, know each other's mentality. So we do have our own counseling when we are working. We have the psychiatrists come and talk to us, because if any one of them is not coordinated well, the whole thing can become a disaster rather than trying to help with the disasters. Okay? So air ambulance, we have in the United Kingdom about 21 different air ambulance services we have. And they're all from the charity. It doesn't come from the government. Everything is funded by charity, except one in Scotland. England, Wales, Northern Ireland, they're all charity based. So altogether we had 21 and 2 more is going to add now. Each trip with an air ambulance would cost about 2,000 to 3,000 pounds. So they carefully we need to select for the resource, how do we go about? Because government is not funding at all, it's just the charity funding. But it's good, it's highly funded and we are using that. These are some of the aircrafts what we use, and the latest one is the H145 helicopters. It's like a flying ICU, so if any anesthetist and emergency medicine people will know, flying the whole ITU and ICU is in the air. So you can imagine it's a very closed space. The resources are all packed very tightly, so we need to work in those kind of environment, which is challenging and good, but it can, as I said, it can go even with the slightest wrong moves, the whole thing can become a bigger disaster than what we are doing. And these are the different kinds of aircraft what we use, as I said earlier. The fixed wing one, we also use it in case we need to transport more casualties. We used similar kind of aircrafts when we went for the Ukraine war. The good thing was the Kuwait Airlines and the other airlines from the Gulf region, they gave their aircrafts, they converted overnight the passenger plane into an ICU, because you need about 5 to 6 seats for one stretcher to be put in. So they made like a 2-tier one. So we started using that in the war zone. There are a few pictures which I will show you. The main protocol, what we do is we call it as a methane. I think most of them know about this. Methane is something, I don't want to go into the whole details. The medical fraternity will know. It will be mainly, it's with where did this happen, how did this happen, exact location, and the type of accident, hazards, how do we have access? It's not only the access, we can go to that area, but how do we come out of that? We need to know that also. It's very important, not just access. And the number of casualties and the emergency services involved. Because we worked in a very closed, knitted space, we have to coordinate with all agencies, from the helicopter pilot to the government, the rescue team on the ground, and the hospital where we are transporting the patients. It should be well-coordinated network. So these are some of the aircrafts which was converted into the ICU. We have everything, it's just like a flying ICU. In fact, you name it from around the world, what we have, we can do. These are the converted aircraft. This is from some of the Ukraine war victims, some of the soldiers. But the difficulty what we had in those places were, as we were attending to these casualties, in the plane, the other relatives and friends, so-called, also started jumping in the plane, and they cannot get on. We had very restricted time limit. And some of them flew with us. Later on, we found out that they are not nowhere related to any of the casualties, but they wanted to leave the country and run away. From the Polish border. We used to travel almost 24 hours from London to Poland, constantly, 6 of us, leave the resources there, but we couldn't go into the war zone in Ukraine because they said it's your risk if you're doing it, except the media. Even the medical staff, they tried to cover up, but you can imagine how bad it is. But we did all that. It's a great experience doing that. And these are some of the training what we do. Before we start, I'll just show you some videos on that, which would be more helpful. So this is one of the helicopter when we start. Is the volume there?
So I'll run through the, but essentially it's arm work is called the green. Doing very nicely. Needs a little bit of assistance.
This, what I'm telling is, on a daily basis, though we know everything about every single day, we have to run checks. 3 other doctors will be constantly checking what's been going on, from the drug list to the emergency bags to the aircraft. The pilot will have about 28 checks before we even fly. So he gives us a briefing, which we have to constantly, it's a repetitions like to get used to it. Even we know even we had attended to one of the things, we come back and check once again. Every single bit of it we do that. So that's one thing about it. And lots of training. We need to do emergency trainings in different scenarios we create. And we need to know the mapping, where exactly we're going, what we're doing, so that we can coordinate well, because every single minute is critical. So that's what we do. So we have to study the mapping very well. I know the other speakers spoke about how they are managing. That's a very good thing. Without less resource, somebody said even they did not even have the radios, and they could. So without that, it's so difficult. I can imagine how bad it is. We have our radios. It's only for the medical fraternity. We communicate with each other. We have certain codes. Communication is very, very important when we're doing it. So that's what we do in the training. Once we know the area, what we're doing. These are all the training. We need to know the maps of the race circuits. If you're working on the race circuit. If you're working somewhere else, then we need to give the training on the ground. These are all some of the training pictures. And this is probably Dr. Girish will know a little bit of this because he's been training people around. And we run the scenarios like this because these are all extreme sports and extreme medicine. These, similar to this, in fact, this looks more easier. These kind of motorcycle riders will be thrown up on the high tree, somewhere on some big Christmas tree. The bike will be wrapped around the trees. So they're almost dead. They have the intestines coming out, even with all the leathers and everything. So the helicopter has to go to that site. So there are well-trained military, the pilots. So they take us to these areas and we have to deal with them. So the doctors and paramedics' fitness is very important. We all go for about nearly 2.5 hours of exercise every day. And it's a mandatory thing. And even they monitor us. We wear, I think most of you must have seen in the sports what they wear for the monitoring system. It's like a mini bra, so they get into that. They constantly record what I'm doing, they're recording even now. So because they should be totally fit to get into these kind of sports. So this is all the training we do in the morning. This is my team, the German anesthetist here, and these guys are from London. We have about 15 of us working together in different areas, and this is our medical drone. So these are what I'm showing is the equipments and the training, and how do we carry, what do we do. Every single part of it is being studied and done, because if this goes into the fire, so this doesn't catch fire, it's fireproof. So we have few of these equipment, these are we call as the medical toys. And if you go to the Formula One, we need to know all about the car, how does it work, if there is an accident, where it go, how to extricate the driver. So these are the ones which we need to study, and we need to know the area where we are going. So if it is a disasters, even knowing this place, the helicopters go through all this, it's about 58 kilometers in Isle of Man where we go there yearly 3 times. You can imagine the helicopter constantly going and the medical car is following on the ground. So the communication, expecting the disasters. And if you're not expecting, like in the morning when they're talking about tsunami and other things, very interesting how they could handle that without any warnings or nothing. And they had to team up with. This is all pre-prepared, so much of preparations going on with that. These are all again my team. And these are some of the fantastic equipments. This can cut any kind of metal. I don't know about technically how thick and how it is. Any metal, they can cut the cars, they can cut the helicopters, anything they want, any metal area, and they can extricate the person from this. So these are very interesting ones. And these are some of the, oh God. And these are some of the equipments what we use during the internet is a bit slow. Just try to pick it up. Some of the things is coming. Okay. Okay. So, and then we have our own area where we sit down sometime before we send the helicopters out. So we start monitoring people from here. We constantly are watching what is going on around, and when needed, we deploy the helicopter straight away. These are the kind of accidents they have, they even have, and we time it up, how long the ambulance took to come. It should be not less than 1.5 minutes. They should come and attend to that person, and the helicopter should be in within 7 minutes. We need to assess this on the ground. So, and these are some of the accidents on the area where it happens, and many deaths. Last year, Isle of Man TT alone was about 12 deaths, and altogether since 1904, about 217 deaths. These are the kind of motorsports we get involved where we need the helicopter. This is a 320 kilometer speed. See, his ankle is left knee, right ankle, right knee, wrist, elbow, hips. It's a very highly rated suit, like to prevent the accident, but still they have serious accidents with this kind of motorsport. This is all briefing during Formula One. We tell them everything what is going on, including the, as I said, from the ground staff, helicopter, the whole team has to attend to this and go through the drill before we even start the race. So likewise, I can give some examples how, when do we need the helicopters, what kind of injuries. Let's show you, this internet is a bit slow. This again, the horse racing. Here again, we need the helicopters. When these things happen, we can't mess around on this, on the track side. Okay, I'm just showing some of the examples here. This is one of the doctor. When did the how the helicopter came into picture?
The Isle of Man TT is the deadliest motorcycle race in the world, with speeds reaching up to 200 miles per hour and 267 rider deaths since 1907. In 2003, at just 23 years old, John Hines joined Dr. Fred McSorley to form the Flying Doctors, riding motorcycles packed with medical gear, racing alongside competitors to deliver immediate trauma care. Despite the most prize money of $32,000, racers showed up for glory, and John showed up to keep them alive. On July 3rd, 2015, John tragically lost control of his own motorcycle while on duty and passed away the next day. A year after his death, Northern Ireland finally established its first air ambulance.
That's how the air ambulance started coming into the picture. Because that's how even the doctors used to be trained how to go on the 200 miles is about 360 kilometer speed. The doctor used to go and attend to the casualties and unfortunately died. And that was not a safe environment to do it. And it was like that at one point of time. And that's how the helicopter started coming into the picture. Yeah? So, and these are some of the costs which they deal with. It's about 40-50 million worth, about 50 crores, 80 crores vehicles. These are, and this is our team. Every single person is coordinated there. Me being the deputy clinical director, the directors to the ground staff, helicopter pilots, about 3 of them. We have this early morning discussion every single day. We need to do this. Otherwise, each one would have not lack of sleep. So that's why they monitor my sleep, they monitor for my blood sugar, they monitor constantly, they'll be monitoring of everybody there. But that's the teamwork. Because as I said, it can be a real disaster. There are few disasters that have happened, but it's not a good thing. Because of coordination, it's not just one person dealing with it. Yeah? And in a big event like Formula One, 108 medical staff for just one event. So, of course, they have the resource. And when I went for the extreme medicines, these are the skiing accidents. See, even here we took the helicopter there. Because these can't be messed around with any road ambulance or anything. So we need to just stabilize, transport, they're out like, so we had to put the tubes in, all the drugs, everything together. And again, more training with people on this ground staff, all this goes on. Now about the drugs, some of the doctors, other medical team can understand this. This is more of the anesthetic drugs. We have CCOT, Critical Care Outreach team, they prepare the drug bag. And we run through that every single day again, as I said. Even if you had used one vial or not used, we have to open the bag again. We have to check before everything starts. So it's very, very important. The dosage to be calculated. No, Molly? So 3 drugs we normally always carry. Of course, we have about 18 to 20 different drugs, but 3. One is the ketamine, then we have racuronium, and then we have the fentanyl. These are 3 drugs we play around with the casualties on site. We have to tube them as early as possible. RSI is what rapid sequence induction. Drug them, tube them, lines, drains, take them in the helicopter, like, because we can't afford to keep these and try to mess around in the helicopter, because they can start coming around and they'll start having problems. There was one incident where it happened, one of the casualties, big celebrities these are, he suddenly came out of it, the dosage was not calculated well. Before he could even open the helicopter door, he started running around, so it was not a good thing on the media, what was going on there. So that's the reason we keep checking every time we attend to these casualties. It's quite a bit of a risky area, and now recently, I think you people must have seen, this was a recent one, it's happened in Liverpool. Absolutely, the people who are not involved, the crowd, if they don't know anything, the first thing they themselves go away, that's how it's been trained. Because the more people come, it's a very nice thing for the humans to get into the picture to help each other, but that can go wrong. And so these are all the ground staff, just the paramedics and first aiders in a very bad incident. The kind of problems come in United Kingdom is small little puddle, they call it as a flood, but the other ones are all, it can be, like a terrorism is the main thing which is going on there, and they are having a bigger and bigger issue all the time with those kind of disasters. This is again just next to the helicopter. We had to put the drain for this guy quickly after suturing. It was such a long sutures. This is the same thing again, and how the helicopter came into the picture. I wish I could show you the. This is again only for the city area, these helicopters, because of so much of obstacles they have. They would identify these areas where they can land the helicopters. They can't mess around in the last moment again. This happened because some idiot all of a sudden decided to go into the Liverpool celebration, like just how it happened for the RCB celebrations. But this was more of stampede. But here, in this scenario, a guy just suddenly decided to drive his 4x4 into the crowd. So I don't know what kind of mentality they get by doing that. This is what makes it. See?
Oh shit! Who's that? Nothing.
This is not, sorry about the language, this is not the disasters of stampede. This is more of one of the mad guy coming into the picture. So these kind of disasters are quite a lot nowadays in European countries and United Kingdom. It's really bad there. So we are prepared for this. Now they are preparing us for probably there will be a war zone. So we are already started doing these drill exercises for this nuclear war. So that's the latest one going on. They're well prepared, but these things keep happening. And I had some of these the recent Indian ones. What happened? I think many must have seen this already. And in these scenarios, even if we have to have a helicopter, it's again difficult. Where do you land? But we need to know exactly where about, instead of misusing the helicopter by some of the people, you know. It's best is to give it for this. That's why the charity works very well there.
Was that the best option on that day? Taking a helicopter to that site?
No, absolutely not. But they could have created some places where if this happens, that's why preparedness is very important, where it could happen, have few helipads, because well-trained military the pilots can really land in good places. I think you know that very well, how they do that. Yeah. We have few places. So that's why knowing the map, like you and me coming from home to here, I should have known the map extremely well. I relied completely on the driver, so he was taking me all around. I knew there's something going on. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. This is what in the United Kingdom we do it in the normal basis, or regular. That's 21 different agencies. Altogether, I have about 54 helicopters. It's only for these things, not for military or anything. Only for civilian casualties. We use this. And of course, they interchange in between. If there's any coastal problems going on, they also come and help them out. But these are all completely, typically meant for civilian casualties, which is good. So that's the reason we prepare them. I mean, the agencies prepare them where they have to land. They'll all know the map so well. About 20, 30 spots, they will pick it up. Okay? And this is all for civilians. As you said, it's difficult. That's why there's few things to add up and how do we go about. I know, absolutely. But these guys, the military trained pilots, they land on the trees, almost very close to the trees. We medics are all well secured, and we try to bring them out because these motorcycle riders have gone over that during this motorsports, especially in Isle of Man TT. That's not on the normal tracks. It's on the normal road, where if you say for example, it's Malleshwaram Road, you saw here, it's about 40, 50 miles or kilometers per hour. These guys go 260, 270 miles on that road, kilometers per hour. So those accidents are terrible. They go crashing into the pubs, into church, in the gas stations, cash machines all flying out. They're some kind of crazy riders. But that when I do the motorsports, we have the helicopter services for that, including the ground sport. And then the rest is all for the civilians. So this is how we use the motorsports in the right setup. Of course, I go for the big world boxing, but for their requirement, they have to have a helicopter and an MRI machine outside. You have to have that for their, because of big celebrities. So depending on what level of sports it is, international ones, that's what they do. So even with that, we do a briefing in case he falls and he has a airway management to be done and quickly transport. Because through the London traffic, it's difficult to negotiate them, even with the ambulance services. But best is take them to Royal Free straight away. To buy time. And the big sports guys, I mean, these are all the world champions, who that guy had a head injury, so we had to immediately take him out. Okay? And when we do the British horse racing, we have these safety features and how do we handle this, because many doctors have died. Last year, 2 doctors died in horse racing time. So we briefed them how do we go, because where to stand, how to stand, because our safety is most important. And again, whether the helicopter comes before this any event happens, because there are 12 deaths last year, just even with the horse racing events itself, the serious ones I'm talking about, that's, as I said, this is one of the guy who had a fall. You can see it's like a ragdoll injury. This is one, and a few. I mean, these are the accidents which I was. I wanted to show you only the ones which I have attended to, so that would be easier to show. And these are the kind of scenarios we create. The motorcycle riders have gone underneath. The scenarios are very good, almost real. These dummies, they vomit, they can talk, they can urinate, they can have a seizure. They have all this on the road, how fast we do it, and then they do the timings and how we transport to the helicopters. So this is even for the training purpose, but these things happening all the time there. So the training and coordinating with people is very important. This is the starting of the MotoGP this year. That's my car. We'll be sitting in that car, and we are trained to sit in the car and drive. We won't be driving, the Formula 2 driver will be driving the car. And this is going around 270 to 280 kilometers per hour speed. The 0 to 120 kilometers, they go in 3 seconds. And they hit 220, 230, they jam the brakes, drop down to 160. So the G-force, I think some of you will know this, usually about 1, I think normally we all have that. When we are sitting, doctors, we had about nearly 2.2. When there is a real impact and accident, they crash, they go up to 50, 60. I think Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton had about nearly 60. 60 is like on death, but these guys had that. Okay? So I'll stop at that. It's just mainly I wanted to share my experiences. There's lots to tell, and this is like the Prayagraj and all which happened. So I'm trying to do some studies, taking these pictures, how we can handle with this kind of situations with the helicopter service. I know, as I said, it's not an easy, a lot of money involved with that. But charity is the one which is really doing well. 21 agencies they have with so many resources and everything they have. And government agency is only one in Scotland. They have 2 helicopters. That's about it in the whole of the United Kingdom. And sometimes the European people needs we do that. So now we are all preparing for the supposed to be a nuclear war. So, any questions? I don't want to take much time.
Yeah. We'll take up the questions at the end of all the sessions, please.
Okay.
You can just say.
Thank you, Dr. Savanth. It was really an extraordinary session. And you have really proven that it is not only a doctor's knowledge, you have to be like a Google map, and as well as you should be an engineer too. Because, it's, I mean, we are extending our profession to different areas. Thank you very much for